2022. I'd like to call this special meeting of the Board of Finance to order. Stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Let's see. Dean's not here. Not here. Ted is no. Tom is no. Don? Yep. Adrian? Here. Linda? Here. And no Keith. Then you have voting rights tonight. Okay. First order of business, acceptance for the minutes for June 21, 2023. The only thing I found was on number 2, annual procurement review. I did ask Paul Brenton if there was any changes to the Board of Ed's procurement policies. He said no. So that's the only thing I found. Any other comments on it? If not, I'd like to have a motion to accept.
I move we accept.
Second.
I do have a question.
Oh, sure.
Does it have to be in the minutes when you extend voting rights to me? Because obviously that's what happened here. It's not notated.
That's a good question.
So I make a motion we amend the minutes to...
For 21, for June 21?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a motion on the floor, or I can second it, or start?
Well, you have to
We'll have to read.
withdraw your motion.
I will withdraw my motion and make the motion to accept the minutes with the addition of Linda having her.
The voting rights. There is a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? Or second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor for the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passed. New business to consider and act one request on a bid for electronic sign in front of the Plainfield Police Station. Mr. Kevin? Do the schmeal again.
Thank you, first of all. There was one bid for that sign that we put out a bid for. It came in, I think the numbers was 35 and change you heard earlier. What we'd like to do is we approved it to go forward to the Board of Finance for their approval, which allows it to go to a town meeting on July 12th at 7 p.m. And that will, of course, be pending the approval of such vote that night to be taking the money from their current budget.
Any discussion from the board?
So that's the 36,000, right?
Approximately, it says 35,000. We'll be asking for 36,000, and that covers any small issues. But yes, we approved it for the 35,192, but we're asking for 36 at the town meeting.
I have a couple of issues with that. Is, according to the chart on procurement 95A, you need more than one bid for a project.
For a sealed bid, we've had sealed bids before that only came in with one. So
Well, I'm just going by what the charter says to me.
under the procurement policy of the town of Plainfield, though, it's a little different. But I can hear what you're saying.
Yeah. That's an issue I have with it. If we only get one bid, then
I will say this, there's also not a lot of sign companies around.
What?
There's not a lot of sign companies around.
I also have another issue about as far as insurance claims in regards to the old sign.
Yep.
What's the status of that?
As I said during the meeting, that we're still waiting for the check to come in. When it does come in, that'll go into the general fund.
How much is that?
We don't know roughly how much that is,
We're guesstimating approximately 16,000.
16?
but it goes to the general fund.
Any other comments? No? I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to let citizens give us their input on this particular item themselves too. So if anybody out there want to make a comment or have suggestions or whatever on this particular item, you can feel free before we vote.
Mary Smith, Plainfield. Oh, I'm sorry, no, go ahead, go ahead. This is Dina. Colleen Legauskis, Moosup, and not Moosup, Elementary anymore. Church Street, Moosup. I'm also a Board of Police Commission member. As far as the large sign in front of the police department, that's the one you're talking about, is the $35,000 one that you for a long time, the commission itself has looked at that, and I know the selectmen have as well. Because of the prime location of the police department, it's a prime opportunity for us to put a sign out there that would be utilized not just by the police department, but by the town itself to advertise events, to put up public safety announcements, and right now we don't have that capability. Putting it here in front of the town hall does not make sense, just because of the lower traffic, but right out on Route 12. I think it's a prime opportunity to have that type of communication with our community.
I have no problem with the sign. It's just that following charter procedure.
As far as two bids,
Well, yeah, more than one. Yeah, that's
Right.
what it says, more than one.
but if we don't get more than one company to respond,
Doesn't happen, or put it out to rebid,
okay,
you know. I mean, things have happened before.
right. Is that in the procurement policy or in the charter?
It's in the charter.
In the charter. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mary Smith, Plainfield. I only, just clarification, so this money is coming from the police budget?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
The money.
We can't hear you.
Is coming from the police budget?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
I just wanted to verify.
Not requesting any additional funds at all whatsoever.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you going to locate the sign?
It's going to be almost identical to the spot where it's at right now.
Okay, not where the pit one was. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Can I get your name? I'm sorry.
Oh,
No, hers.
Audrey Lemieux. Audrey-Lemieux.
Thank you.
Musa.
Any other comments?
I just got a question on your current policy with your bids. Do you know how it was bid? Was it put out to the state or our website? After that,
I have to ask Kevin on that
or
one.
was
I'm
it
not
just
sure.
sent out to a few people?
I'm not sure how they were doing the whole bidding process because there were multiple going on at the same time.
Did you
but-
send it out to bid to the state, or did you send it out to certain companies, or how did that work?
So I worked with Kyle Collins to come up with a bid packet, and then he sent it out to local newspapers, posted on websites. I don't know exactly what sites he went to. We did nothing different than what we do in normally do for bids. But once we come up with that packet, it's out of my hand, it goes to Kyle Collins, and he's the one that posts it for us.
So am I to understand that it did go out to bid?
A
If we only got
sealed bid.
one response?
Correct, he sealed it.
You still have voting rights. Yeah. Please note that Ted Domain at 632. No other comments, or?
But overall, everything's coming out of the police budget, no additional funds.
Correct.
All right, I'd like to have a motion to,
A motion that we do the line item transfer from the police department as stated to cover the $36,000 they requested for the new sign.
Second.
any other discussion? Everybody up to speed? The electronic sign for the police department. You have the, report on it?
The police department is asking for $36,000 to come out of their budget. They're not asking for any additional monies. But if you look at this one right here, they're asking for $15,000 from overtime and $21,000 from salaries and things of that sort to cover $36,000 that they need for the new signs, going to go on round 12. So the motion was just made to approve the line item transfer of the district budget from the police to cover for the sign.
And the police are asking for this?
The police are asking for it. There's a letter here from the police.
And my only issue was with the new charter. It says when we're on bid, more than one bid.
Excuse me, point of order. There's a motion on the
Oh,
floor, it's
sorry.
been seconded.
Okay.
And I suggest that Ted just abstain. It's not up to speed. You know, we've already had the discussion, it's been seconded.
So only one bid came in. It was a sealed bid that went out and only one came back. So that's his issue. The charter says that we should have two bids, but
Point
only
of order,
one
there's a
bid.
motion on the floor.
There is a motion.
Gary, point of
Yeah.
order. You're not, your first agenda item is not the line item transfers. He made a motion to approve line item transfers. I believe that's your second item.
To consider an act on one request on a bid.
Not the line item transfer, though.
Oh,
No.
no, I know, I said from the police. I didn't
But
say
you
board
said
of
to
selectmen.
approve the line item transfer.
Because that would be in the next item number 2.
All you're doing is approving the monies to be expended for. And then you approve the line item transfer next item.
Okay.
Can I ask one question before you do or no?
Sure.
Where in the charter do you see one bid is needed, more than one bid is needed, what section?
You said 9.5 or something.
9.5A. Policies shall include a requirement that more than one bid or estimate shall be solicited for procurement of material, labor, construction, professional services.
Solicited. We did.
Yeah,
We got one.
this is more than one.
We solicited
More than one.
We only received one.
There you go.
You have to solicit to go out to bid.
Right.
We solicited to go out to bid.
More than one bid.
We got one bid. We can solicit everybody, we still only got one bid.
Okay.
Only received one bid.
Okay.
I just, Joe Cyron, and we've been on a lot of stuff, and a lot of times, I don't want to say a lot of times, but there's been many times that we've had been the only bidder, or because we're the only ones that bid on it. So if we were still awarded the job. They did, the town did its due diligence to put the bid out, and it's not that bidder, which was Prime Electric or whatever, it was on Grant Design or whatever. They did their part of it, held up to their part of the bargain. We deserve to get a good work.
Yakinen signs?
Yeah, sign?
Yeah.
We have to
Well, I guess we
withdraw that motion.
How is that better said then? Do I just read what it says on here, or, yeah? All right, so I guess, to consider and act on, to act one request on a bid for electric sign in front of the Plainfield Police Station.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mine. I guess the motion could be that you're actually looking to move this forward to the town meeting with your approval, because it says that the selectmen already approved it. Now it'll be up to the Board of Finance to approve moving this to a town meeting. So that's the process.
That would be number 3?
Yeah, that's number 3.
That's number 3.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Really, at this point, you're just approving the $36,000 to be expended from their budget. And step 1.
Then 2 is the actual transfer.
I will,
I'll take
Good.
that second.
I'll second.
Is this second?
Yeah.
To consider an act?
Yeah. Any other discussion?
It's to approve the 36,000, correct?
It's exactly what's here.
No other discussion? Let's vote on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Number 2, discuss and act upon line item transfers from the Board of Selectmen.
And that is what the police department here has submitted?
You should have multiple lists of line
Oh,
items.
health insurance as well?
Yep. The top section comes from the health insurance, and the bottom section is for the police, coming from each of their departments.
Yes. Okay, thank you. All right. Make a motion that we act upon the line item transfer, so submitted by the Board of Selectmen in the sum of $80,000 from the town and, no, total, right, 98?
No.
May I interrupt you, Adrian?
Sure.
Yeah. For this section, again, before we vote, I'd like any public input on these items, if anybody has anything to comment on.
Really quick, that's fine. I'd like to know citizen participation is 7, and never in the last 2 years that I've been here have we done it like this. Just
No,
but it's
no,
not on here.
I know, I changed it up a
Well,
little
I will
bit
change
today.
it and submit it next time, so you know.
Hello.
Hi.
Audrey Lemieux again.
How's it going?
It's going well. I do have some questions.
Sure.
I see the tables are already here before we even went ahead to say we were okay. What if we say no?
Yeah, who says no?
That we decided that this is a line item we don't want to handle.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that would go to a town vote. No, is it a town meeting? No? Oh, okay.
What would it do? I mean, I'm just curious because you already ordered the tables, they're here. The dividers are here. And now we're asking, it's like putting the cart before the horse. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm
Absolutely.
questioning how we're doing business.
Yep, and this is part of a procurement policy. Each and every one of these items that we have went through a procurement policy. I have the lowest item for each of those, which is all under $10,000 for each. If you notice, each and every one of those is under $10,000, so it falls under the procurement policy. What I'm looking to do is to properly put it all into the contingency line, make it easier to utilize that money from there.
Yes, contingency always means to me like something's an emergency. None of this is an emergency. You know, it's just that, and we didn't have enough for the legal fees this year?
Not yet, nope.
Okay. Also, what is the fund balance? Yeah, no, how healthy is it?
After the last audit was 18%. So right now, after the audit, I can tell you for sure, but this year, probably maybe we'll drop down to 17%.
And how much does that mean in the unsecured?
I think it's like 8. I want to say unassigned is like 8.
Okay, unassigned is 8 million. And what about the other side?
Assigned, I don't remember.
Okay.
It's healthy.
Okay, thank you.
How much are, how many park benches are we buying? How much are they?
I'm sorry, I can't hear it from there.
How many park benches are we buying?
6.
Huh?
6.
6, and how much are they each?
A little over 1,000
That
each.
number divided by 6?
Yeah, plus shipping and freight, yeah.
Any other discussion?
It's still open. Right.
I have a couple questions. So how are these the line items are coming, Kelly, from the health insurance money?
Yes, we're still not.
And then that's going into the contingency?
A portion to the contingency, a portion to legal, yes.
Okay, what portion is going to contingency?
45,000, roughly.
Okay, so are we adding all of the line item transfers collectively to go to the town meeting? Or are they just going to the contingency and then going to be spent individually?
Going to contingency spent individually.
Right, what was our plan list amount for this past fiscal year?
I don't know. I don't know off the top. I can look it up. How much taxes that we anticipate this week coming down?
That's what our plan list.
I don't know.
Does the Board of Finance know what that number is, the total grand list for this past fiscal year?
Question I
Grand list.
The grand list amount for the fiscal year. It is germane to the agenda because I do have a point to make with this. That's why I'm bringing this up. So while you're getting that, because the other thing is the total expenditures, because I have a little bit, I'm kind of following suit because there's been so many questions with our town charter as of late, and because it's going to be coming under review. My question is, are we following 10.6C of expenditures and accounting? And are we also following state statutes 7-348 on how we're doing our appropriations?
I would assume, yes, I get one on this side.
I would like that verified.
What was the number,
Checked on
10.6 what?
10.6C. And I'd also like you to check on state statute 7-348.
Okay.
Because under the statute, and I'm not an expert, it appears to look like anything over $20,000 going to one department. Anything after that has to go to a town meeting after the Board of Finance approves it.
Don't believe that's true, but that's
Check the
your opinion.
statute and then read it and then see what you come up with, just so going forward, I know I'm looking into it more, because there are civil violations if we're not following it properly. So,
We have like the procurement policy and stuff, and anything in the town charter that states between 5 and 10 and 50,000, right?
Yeah.
If it's not in the budget, you have to go to a town meeting for the public to vote on. My understanding is if we pass the budget or the items are in the budget, then that's acceptable, you know, with all the people voted on it, exactly.
right.
So,
I'm not opposed to supporting anything for our police. I never have been. And I'm also not opposed to supporting things for our children and for the betterment of our community. But what I do have a hard time swallowing as a lifelong resident and taxpayer in this town is when at the beginning of the year we're having budgets and at the end we're coming back saying we have $100,000 or $200,000 left over in one specific line item. It's questionable, and it raises the question when you are making the legislative body vote on an appropriation and then you're coming up at $100,000 in excess, you're not giving the voters a choice in whether they want these projects. So that doesn't set well with a lot of the community. So I would hope you would take that into consideration with the continuation of a lot of these line items. It's how it's being presented, especially on a re-eval year where we were told we had to take the hit, and now we're buying a Christmas tree that's going to come up to about $20,000 roughly between cost and installation. We do have to take those things into consideration. If we're told in meetings we have to cut back, the town has to give some and cut back too. Thank you.
Naomi, was that A or 8?
Excuse me?
Was that A or 8?
The statute?
Yes.
7-348.
8.
Yes, sir. Kevin Cunningham, I just wanted to follow up on some of the items and questions that we have. So we normally go into a freeze. We did a very good job of keeping expenditures down because we went to a freeze, so we do have a lot of lines of, within the budget which are well underneath. We usually do that, then turn over the money back into the fund balance. If you take a look, I don't know, you probably don't have it in front of you, but there are quite a bit of savings we have from our insurance benefits so far this year alone. I can't give you a full number of what the savings would be for the town. Roughly, on the town side, I think Kelly could probably put a number out there for you, but what I'm looking to do is small purchase items. Okay, and I looked up that 10, let's go back to it again. (10.6c). No officer or agency of the town shall expend or enter into a contract which would oblige the town to expend in excess of an approved appropriation. The items I have in here are not that. In other words, we're talking about like a contract that you would sign, but then you go over that contract. That's what that would be, in my opinion. I can get clarification from the attorney, but I believe that's what it is.
The only issue I had was probably for the billing at the PD, because we appropriated $100,000. It was $100,000.
Yep.
So I wasn't sure about that.
So each of the smaller items that I have in front of you, again, are anywhere between, I think it was $4,000 and $9,500, $9,700. They are things that I think, well, first of all, I mentioned these things already before we got here, Ted. The tables alone, they were in need of replacing, period. I didn't do the proper process by going out and looking at multiple companies that have tables, and that was the lowest one. And I thought that the professional way to market this particular town hall, now that we have an HVAC system, to get this in rental format, is to make it a little more professional. That's why those two screens are in the back. I'm willing to stand behind what we have going forward. Just wanted you to know that I think we were doing very healthy in what we had for savings, and therefore we could utilize some of the other things. Okay?
Yeah.
Thanks.
I've heard there's a motion on the floor.
I just had a couple of questions on the white glove service and the Christmas tree and where the gazebo is.
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear you.
Gazebo, where is that? And then the Christmas tree and the white glove service for that Christmas tree.
Okay, so I can explain what those three are. We wanted to do a project over on the Moosup Green. We wanted to put up a gazebo and the 6 park benches and have more events over in Moosup.
So that's where the 6 park
That's
benches
where
are
it will be.
going, over
Right.
there?
Yep. I still have to go through P&Z, go through the processes of doing that as well. But we'd like to be able to order these things so we can do that when it comes forward. Now, the other question was the tree.
The tree and the white glove service to go
Yep.
with the tree.
And I mentioned that when the Board of Selectmen meeting was
Yeah.
going, I'll repeat that, that's fine. The issue is that the tree that's out here right now is dying. And we needed to do something, either replant something and hope that it comes up in a few years, or we thought a better idea would be have a artificial tree and purchase it one year and then be able to use it for years to come. The white glove service, I said, was something that is offered by some companies, and what it does is allows you to use their service. They come out, they would install it, put it all up, and if anything wasn't working, they would actually make it, they would fix it on spot without having us pay for it. And when at the end of the season, when it's all over with, they would dismantle it and they would go back and store it.
And that's just 1 year they do that?
Well, I
Or
wanted
they
to-
do that every year?
They could do it every year, but you have to pay a service
Pay
fee
a
for
certain
it.
fee?
The idea was at least the first year, I want to be able to know what they're doing versus someone just shipping you this tree that comes in these 4-foot
Yeah.
sections in a cage, and you have to figure out how it's going to work. So for safety issues, I wanted to do that at least the first year so I can see how it's being done.
We don't have another alternative to an artificial tree like that? You
I-
could do something with lights or anything like that?
I hear what you're saying. I did do the research online and found other companies that have the trees like that,
Yeah.
and the next price up is $36,000. So a lighted tree, and I mentioned before as well, now we have other groups that want to make donations to it, so we're hoping that it would, this one in particular, every year if you wanted to, you could actually add another 4-foot section. It's a wider section of the base. So you can make it taller than 22 foot if you wanted to.
So what are we looking at for the size of it for this year then?
22 foot.
22 foot? Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
I wanted to respond back to the state statute 7348. I just looked it up. So it says each town department cannot go over their excess appropriated amount. So when we approve a budget, if the town clerk has 80,000, we go over the 80,000, we cannot do that. Which in our past ones, we've never done that in any department. So you can look them up, but that's what it's pertaining to, each department.
I just have one quick thing. Okay.
I'm back again. I have a question now. It's great that we'll have a Christmas tree, but there's other religious denominations around, like, we can do this for a menorah maybe, or Kwanzaa. I mean, this is nice, but you got to think about the rest of the people. Just want to put that little thought in your brain. Thank you.
Hey, Chief, for the building, is that bonded? Is there a bid bond with that?
I can't answer that. That's going to be to first selectman and Mr. Collins for that.
Is it
It
bonded?
was Mr. Collins that put it together.
Yes.
I'd have to take a look.
Is it bonded, Kelly?
I don't know.
Just curious.
Well, we have the winning bidder here.
Is it bonded? No.
Job like that usually is like
Any other comments?
very good.
Robert Smith, Plainfield. I think what we're looking at today is, these are non-budgeted items, I'm sure, correct? These are all non-budgeted items that we're coming to get appropriations for, through a line item transfer to the contingency fund.
You talking to them or us?
I'm asking you if it's non-budgeted items that this list is, okay. So these are non-budgeted, so now they have to come for appropriations for these through a line item transfer. Now they compile multiple. So what's up to the Board of Finance now is cherry pick through the list, approve or disapprove any ones you want. Then approve what you had left to that. Now, because it's being a line item transfer to one thing, I think the dollar amount does matter whether it goes to a town meeting or not. I know they're saying they're coming in separate, but it is a one item thing, now that it's going from one line item to another. So that's just a one transfer. This is under a compiled list. So I do still believe it may have to go to a town meeting. I think that's something that has to be discussed. But overall, it's your responsibilities to cherry pick through everything, approve and disapprove. That's on you guys. You can ask whatever you want. It's up to you to approve or disapprove. That's all on you. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, you have access to the 5-year capital plan. Some of those items are there. We list them because we're thinking about doing them in the future. So some of those items are there. And I don't see anything in 2.5 talking about any resolution for any non-budgeted appropriation of an amount more than 10,000, but not more than 50,000. That's an item. So we're not falling into that category. We do the line item transfers every year. So yes.
And would that take into account the 56,000 from salaries to the PD building?
That's why we're going to a town meeting for one of those items, the 36,000.
Yeah.
It's up to you to decide if you want to be able to utilize that money for that item. I would strongly recommend it. I think it's something that's definitely needed. The $100,000, if you remember, was appropriated in the budget already.
Correct.
So this is just asking for a little extra money to cover that. I could be wrong, but you've expended about $10,000 so far for your planning?
Yeah, and the thing is, again, we're not requesting more money. We're utilizing that money that's there. We don't utilize it for the building. We come back out now, ask for the $170,000 or $160,000 for the building, but yet the money that's already there now just goes into a general fund. So what we're just trying to do is utilize the money without going back to the taxpayers and say, hey, can I get another $16,000? We're utilizing the money that we have left over in our current budget. We're not requesting anything additional. We budgeted a certain amount, it came over, we had one bid, 2 bids for the foundation. I'm not coming out here saying, please, I need this extra money. All I'm asking you to do is use the money I have in my budget to cover that additional cost. And the reason why I have that money is because we have open police positions that we were unable to fill in time due to the academy, due to the time, and frankly, due to the lack of interest, and a lot of people want to be police officers today. So again, all I'm asking to do is take the money that I already have there and just push it towards the building so we can actually get the building finally installed.
Anything else from the board?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. Can we do it?
Go for it.
I'd like to make a motion that we act upon the line item transfers that were presented by the Board of Selectmen. And then we use the appropriated funds for that. This was last year's budget. It's approved for last year's budget. It was approved, again, last year, so I say we follow exactly what it says on here for these line item transfers.
Second.
Another discussion?
Yeah, can we spell out the line item transfers that we're going to do? Exactly which ones do you need?
They're right here, Ted.
See it or not?
Everyone will know.
Yeah. It'll say town of Plainfield line item transfer on the top left hand corner.
These items were never on the original budget.
The ones on the right were not.
So if I read this right, all of these are the money is being transferred to, we don't have to approve. It's up to us to decide whether the general public, or is this going to go to a town meeting, and let them decide.
Well, the town meeting was gonna go for the 36,000 on the sign.
But not for these.
That's number 3.
Okay,
But not for
I'm
each one of
asking
these
for
individuals.
For these specific items, it's not going to go to a town meeting.
Is there one on there you don't approve of?
Yeah, all of them.
All of them? We have a motion on the floor.
And we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. That's all. 3-2. Motion passes. Okay, that's next. Item 3, discuss and approve a town meeting for approval of expending monies for the purchase of the Plainfield Police Station electronic sign. Approving, just for the meeting.
Yep. just-
Yeah.
So pretty much.
What's the date?
July 12th.
July
7
12th,
p.m.
7 PM, Town Hall.
12? Is it 12?
This is the 12th, right?
It is
12th.
So you just need a motion for a town meeting? All right, I'd like to make a motion that we do a town meeting on July 12th at 7 p.m. to approve, help me out with the wording,
Purchase the Plainfield Police Station electronic sign.
purchase the Plainfield Police Station
Electronic sign.
electronic sign.
Second? Any other discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All set then?
Yep.
Okay. Motion passes. We've been doing this, but citizens' participation, yeah, I think should go talked out by now. If not, I make a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?